We're now in another section of our Revit Structure Advanced course, and what we're going to investigate are some of the workset best practices that you can adopt when you're working with work sharing and worksets in your Revit structure projects. As usual, all of the working files are either on your DVD or in your downloaded files if you've downloaded the course from the internet. Be aware though, we are using the same Revit structure files that we used in the previous section. So if you do misplace the files, go back to the working files from the previous section and they are the same ones. So you can find them there if you need to. So let's have a look now at best practices for worksets in Revit Structure. One of the first things you'll look at is working with company policies. Now, what you need to do is make sure that your central model is always saved as that central model first. So what we'll do, up to the application menu, and we go to options down here at the bottom. We make sure that the appropriate username is set up in the general setting here. Now I'm user 1 and I'm going to act as sort of CAD manager and user. So that's all set. Make sure that your file locations are set as well so that your default path for user files is in the right place. So you go and find it. So I'm in workset best practices. I want that projects folder there. I'll open that up and I OK that. So that's all set. Then we make sure that this is our central file for our Revit structure project. So I'll click there, save as, and go to project here. There's the central 001. I go to options and I make this the central model after the save. So I OK that now and I save. So that saves that as the central model. Now you don't normally work on the central model. What you do is in the central model, you set up all your work sets and things like that. If I go to collaborate here and click on work sets, you'll see that we've got some work sets available. I'm going to make sure that they are all editable, like so. So I'll make sure that user 1 can edit those particular active work sets like that. So I'll OK that now. Do you want to make workset 1 workset the active workset? And I'll just say yes to that. That's the active one you can see there in the list, like so. So that's our central project all set up. Now, once you've done that with the worksets, again, go back, do a save as, project, make sure in the options there you set it as the central model and OK it, and then do the save. Now, I'm user 1, so what I need to do now is set up a local file to work off of the central file. So I can close this central file down, go to open here, like so, and select central 001, and you can see there, look, I can create a new local file. So I'll open that up. That opens up the file, but it creates a new local file. And you'll see there, look, can you see it says user 1? So I now know it's a local file because it's added that user 1 as part of the file name there. What you would normally do is save it with a different file name. So I'll do save as, project there, and this time notice there's no local or anything, and I'm going to change the name of this so that I know it's a local file. Now I'm giving it a very, very simple name. I'm just putting local in there instead of central, and I'm going to click on save, like so. So that means I can delete the other Revit project file that says central 001 user 1. I don't need that one anymore because I'm using the local one. So the local one is all set up. When I go to collaborate now, there's my active workset, workset 1, and there's my other worksets available to me. Now, because I'm user 1 and I've set them as editable and user 1 is the owner of these worksets, notice none of them are saying non-editable. That's because I have ownership of those and they're signed out to me at the moment. Now, there are different practices regarding the frequency of synchronizing this local file with, obviously, the central model. Some companies ask users to synchronize before lunch and at the end of the day. Other companies require users to synchronize at a certain increment of minutes, every 30 minutes, every 90 minutes. As the file gets larger, this is the central file, synchronizing more often prevents the loss of data, and it also makes the synchronization finish quicker when there's several hours of work to synchronize. The reason being is as you build up that incremental data, the model gets, in essence, more intelligent. However, there can be many reasons to change this frequency and maybe do additional ad hoc synchronizations. Things like major or critical changes to the project, such as moving a lift core or an atrium in the entrance of a building, or maybe reorienting the building on site. You might need to change, for example, the GPS coordinates, something like that. That's a pretty major change, and that would be an ad hoc change. You would have to do that one and make sure that everybody is aware of it. Also, you might get users working in close proximity inside the model. So what you want to do there is make sure that you synchronize frequently to reduce permission issues. You'll notice, like I've just mentioned here, these work sets are signed out to me as user 1. If user 2 wanted to use those, user 2 would have to create their own local file and then request an element borrowing. So you go here, you make an editing request. So you would need to select an object within a non-editable work set, request that permission from me, let's say user 2, request that permission from me, and I can grant or deny that permission, as per previous videos in the course. Also, when users need to leave their work for an hour or more, for lunch, or a meeting, or at the end of the day, it's best to synchronize and relinquish all of the work sets you're using. So for example, if I went up to save on this one right now, like that, that's just saved it because everything is synchronized. Now, if you go here, synchronize and modify settings, synchronize now. I can do either of those. So if I just do a quick synchronize now, that will update a local copy of the Workshed project using all the default settings. Or I can go here and modify what I'm actually sending to the central model. So if I tick user created work sets and OK that, that'll synchronize the user created work sets, things like elements like columns, beams, floors. If I relinquish all of my work sets though, like that, what'll happen is I relinquish all of those now, and they're all sent back to the central model. I do that at the end of the day. So if I now went to close that file, it just closes it. I don't need to save it because it knows that everything has been relinquished, job done. So my local file is now saved and I've relinquished all of those work sets. So if someone else in the morning comes into the office, they can then update that work set themselves and don't have to get that permission that is needed.